A quick disclaimer before we get the podcast going, folks. Unfortunately, there is an annoying echo effect on my microphone for this 30-minute podcast, but please bear with it as Will and I have some really interesting stuff to talk about. Enjoy the podcast. Oh, man.
You know, the future is going to be crazier when we have Neuralink. I can't wait.
Neuralink.
I can't wait till me and my phone are one. And then we're the real cyborg.
And then we are the cyborg.
Yeah. We're already cyborgs.
All right, well.
You've advanced your cyborg level.
Well, here we are.
Have we begun?
We have begun.
Red pill or blue pill?
Of course, this is a red pill only podcast.
But are we disconnecting or are we connecting?
Ooh.
Red pill, blue pill.
You're right. So, I don't know. What would the red pill be?
What would the red pill be?
It's disconnecting and connecting.
The red
because
pill?
you're disconnecting from the illusion that you think what reality is.
And connecting to the source.
But you're also connecting to the reality.
Right, to the source.
So a red pill is connecting and disconnecting.
Weird. Okay, well, what's the blue pill then? Is it going into a loop?
The blue pill is, in my opinion, insanity.
Totally, a loop. Right?
A loop.
Yeah,
and the purpose of this talk session is to talk about disconnecting.
I think it's definitely important to disconnect, especially in our time, the time we're in, the time just, when you work all day. I think it's really important that people disconnect.
The reason I wanted to make this a session is because me, Nicole, Will, and his girlfriend, Amber, we recently met up in Colorado in Estes Park for a nice hike in Rocky Mountain National Park, which, of course, you can see that video on the Voidfield channel. But something I noticed about you, Will, and I'm not saying I'm exempt from this, I'm certainly not, but I noticed we met up, and right when you got there, it actually took you a good couple days to actually disconnect and appreciate the fact that you're on a vacation.
Totally.
And it's because, it's like, and you're certainly not the only one, our modern lifestyle of just fast, on the go, in your mind constantly. It's like, I'm still finding myself, I've been on this, I quit my job a month ago, and I don't even feel like I'm fully relaxed yet. I still feel like, what do I need to worry about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you still have that survival mechanism built into you.
Maybe that's what it is.
It is. It's totally the survival mechanism. Knowing, your future, you're constantly creating this, outcome of what's going to be in the future. And so a lot of our worries are based on our future outcomes not being where we want them to be. So I think that's a lot of where the stress initially comes from. But it is important to disconnect, and I agree with you. And just this world that we live in is definitely fast-paced. Even me at my job, I'm constantly on the phone. I have, back-to-back appointments with different people I talk to on a day-to-day basis.
Constantly.
My calendar is booked every day. I work in a company that's a hyper-growth startup, though. It's like that, and that's part of the culture. We are all people who are flexible. Definitely that militant mindset where you have to just pivot in a moment's notice. Say you're in the military, something happens. What are you going to do? You're going to complain about it?
Right.
You're going to do it because this is what you got to do. This is your job. It's kind of like that. And, the society and the capitalistic culture we in is, it grows so fast. And the technology also is changing so rapidly. And people's skill sets are constantly having to be tested. And we're constantly having to improve and be smarter and use our time wisely. And it's almost impossible to chase that perfection or that idea of perfection that we're always trying to gain. And this is one reason, too. I mean, we talked about this plenty on the show. We won't go down this rabbit hole. But this is why I talk about AI a lot.
Yeah.
Is that the only way for us to fully be able to use this 24 hours that we all have in a day.
Oh, not enough time in the day.
The only way to totally use it is if we could hone in and create the ideal mindset. If you can say, for example, a lot of people have ADD. There's those dopamine levels are off. You could just tell the Neuralink, you could be like, okay, hey, I want to feel okay. I want my dopamine levels to be good. And your whole neurotransmitters will change just so that you feel good and you can just do what you're doing and hone in. then you have all this stuff just going on, AI helping you do all this stuff. So you're just really the approver of everything in your mind. You're just saying yes or no constantly.
The thing about the Neuralink, though, I'm sure a lot of people out there have heard of this. If you haven't, Neuralink is an idea thought up
It's a business.
Elon Musk.
It's a business, a
It's
startup.
Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, it's a startup business. They're going to be showing stuff soon. That's how. It's not even an idea anymore.
But if we have Neuralink, then will we ever be able to disconnect and just get away from it all?
I think that we still will be able to disconnect, and I think that what Neuralink is going to give us, I think people have this misconception that we're going to, it's going to be more work because we're constantly thinking more. But once you have AI helping you think another platform on top of the hippocampus, an additional platform for the brain, you don't have to do as much left brain processes because your phone is going to be doing them for you, and you can keep your brain in the right side, creativity side, and just feel okay and be happy. And it's like, it's going to be crazy because we're going to be able to control our emotions, and humanity has never really had that before. Full control of their emotions.
Oh,
it's
man.
dangerous, I know, because any technology can totally be hacked, right? So there's a danger in that. Just like how people hack computers, there's going to be a danger in that. So that's going to be the thing that, people are going to, there's going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry in just securing these types of technologies in the future.
Well, I gotta love your constant optimism of technology. Of course, I tend to think the opposite, that the more we advance, the more and more Black Mirror-ish society is going to become. And I think that if or when Neuralink becomes a thing and people start getting some sort of technological implant inside of them, isn't that what Neuralink is? It goes in your brain?
It's a really, really small implant. So it's smaller than hair fraction, like smaller than like 9 nanometers or something. I might be off. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but it's a really, really small strip. They just inject it right there, and it's basically touching a part of your neurons. So all of the frequencies that are going through and passing through, it reads that. And what their plan is to eventually be able to also be able to manipulate that and create electrical impulses. And what they're going to be able to do is, as for example, like you're thinking a thought, they're going to be able to use AI to understand and kind of create like a Rosetta Stone for your thoughts. And every person's thought map is different, right? So when you get your Neuralink set up, it's going to be calibrated, and all of your thoughts are going to be calibrated. It's going to be creating a training set. They're going to tell you, think this. The thing is going to see you training. It's going to create training data to know, like, this thing is what this person means, and then they're going to create a code for that. And then the software, whatever software that people create, all these third-party developers, they'll be able to create like an API that will flow right into your Neuralink, and you can just call functions. You can use mouse clicks. You can go up, down, left, right. You can do all these different things, but with your mind instead.
You can surf the web with your mind.
And I think a lot of people have this idea that, like, okay, well, I'm still gonna have to think like up, but it's not going to be like that, because you don't, with your hand, do you say hand to go left?
It's instant. It's automatic.
It's going to be like that.
Right.
That seamless, where you're going to be like, this is crazy. Like, it's just when you want, what you want is going to happen.
Man.
It's like an extension of you.
Yeah, and I think if that does come to fruition, which the way the world's looking, it looks like we're only progressing towards something, even if it's not Elon Musk's Neuralink,
right?
Something along those lines, the idea of implanting something so you're always connected.
I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that they want to make this technology available to a lot of people and not just like the super elite. I think that's awesome, because if one group of people could only access this technology, that would be detrimental and not fair to the entire construct.
What about the people who, let's say, don't or wouldn't want that and resist, and they're going
to end up just falling behind, just like how they do with technology, even, okay, for example, at my company, when we work right now, because of COVID, we're pivoting on the way we're doing interviews, so we're doing them over Microsoft Teams. So I mean, right there, like, that's one thing, is like people are going to start having to be more technologically savvy, and they have been adapting. they start adapting when the needs to happen.
Even my mom has a smartphone.
So
Didn't think that would ever
they
happen.
don't adapt until they have to.
So they have to.
So it's almost a good thing.
A lot of people like being proactive and adapting, but a lot of people are like, oh, fuck, well,
Right.
I guess I have to, or else I'm literally left in the dust right now.
Right.
But you know me, Will. I mean, I truly feel that it is inevitable. We're going in that direction. I feel bad. I feel like there's some sense of humanness being lost there, because it's a big deal for some people to turn off the social media, turn off their phone, take 2 weeks PTO, and go out in the woods and walk on the trails, and knowing that you're disconnecting
Right.
from society, so to speak. And
Right.
if that stuff comes to fruition, which it's looking like it's going to, they pound these ideas into our head until it becomes fact. Like you said, initially there'll be a lot of pushback. Eventually they'll have to adapt, but I still think.
Just imagine this. I get what you're saying. Because we're going to be fully connected and embedded. And that's a different kind of connected. Like, you could be out in nature, like how we were in the Rockies, but I would still be able to do my work and do all this crazy shit.
Right.
And no one would know.
No one would even know.
And
you can augment reality and
right.
see things while you're out on the trail.
Right, or for example, it could be in like a business meeting, I can meet up with someone, I'm like just in the trail. Or like they call me and like, oh, now they're in front of me because like that's.
Or like me and you are walking on a trail and we're having our conversation, but in between sentences, you're saying sentences in your mind in the meeting that you're in.
Right. So that's also another dangerous thing. But I think that there'll still be freedom, and I think people will just have to have the ability to say, I want to disconnect. And that is a powerful thing. I think that people still need to be connected to nature, so regardless if you're doing something in your head and you're in nature, that's cool. You could still be in nature and enjoying nature and still do your regular daily life, make your money, enjoy life. So in a sense, that's freeing you, but you're still obviously not free. But I mean, some people want to do those things, but they don't have to be tied to like a location. They don't have to be sitting down at a desk. They can literally just be walking in a forest, doing the
This
same.
kind of reminds me of that old argument you and I used to have, rock and roll versus bass music. We would get into it, and then it would typically end with you saying something along the lines of like, but Jeff, it doesn't matter. Like, sound is sound, music is music. It's subjective. What does it matter if you have 5 guys on a stage playing instruments, or you have one guy producing all that music by him or herself? At the end of the day, it's just sound.
Right.
So if we have something like Neuralink, in your mind, what's the difference is if you're actually out in nature, or in your mind, you're in nature.
Right.
And you can
still
smell
experience it. Yeah.
You can smell it and see it. You can literally, like, I like to think something like Neuralink, because it's so intimately involved with your brain and your nervous system. You can say, I want to smell the flowers.
Isn't that crazy?
The smell comes up.
Boom. So it's going to really connect you to reality a little bit more than you think. But it's weird because it's an illusion, right? It's kind of like that Matrix thing, right? Like, it'll really put us in the Matrix in a sense. But I don't think it's in the sense like the same like the movie, right? It's going to be like we're in control of our hallucination.
Man, it makes you wonder how many times we've already been here. Like, like for in the sense, like, all right, so we're getting to the point with quantum computing where we can simulate universes. We're getting to the point with Neuralink where, they're developing the technology where you can, like we've been talking about this whole time, you can implant something into your brain and nervous system and just think things. It's like, are we already? It's like, it's that fractal pattern. Are we in a simulated universe right now, figuring out how to simulate another universe?
I think so.
Have we been here before?
Yeah, we're probably just in some sort of simulation that's within a simulation ad infinitum.
Like the Midnight Gospel?
Honestly, it's also in a
universe simulator.
It's in Rick and Morty too.
Oh man.
Yeah, where like they're like living in a battery. Like the battery is this, and then like that's a simulation because it's just like all this energy, but inside there's just another simulation that's powering it. It's this whole universe that's actually powering this whole battery, And yeah,
This is what causes the career astrophysicist to go insane.
right.
Because you start begging the question, it's like, if it is infinite, then there is absolutely no way to possibly measure how big or small this thing is that we call the universe. And when you start coming across things like, you acknowledge things like duality. So like in our observable universe, everything is duality. 1, 0, love, hate, hot, cold, man, woman, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have like Fibonacci, like the spiral. These are the things that I consider the fingerprints of God. Or maybe that's not a fingerprint of God. Maybe that's just us discovering the formula of our simulation.
Absolutely beautiful.
You know what I mean?
For sure. And like we're seeing like how it's coded.
We're seeing how our simulation is coded.
Right. There's and it's funny that you say that astrophysicists, like they kind of go insane.
Yeah.
There's a whole book of called Something Deeply Hidden by Sean Carroll.
Okay.
He is an author who writes books about different astrophysics, and he was talking a lot about like how you're talking about like quantum physics, right? And he was saying that like there's some people in these universities who tell their students don't research it and don't get into it.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
Don't do it because you're literally
gonna go insane,
and you're gonna really just mess up your whole career because it's somewhere that it's not tangible that humans like a lot of people will
like
lose
quantum
their shit.
entanglement.
And honestly, those types of people who are wanting to go and chase those things are really the people who should be psychonauts. Because that's the place where you get those questions answered. You won't be able to come back and tell those people anything about what you saw, but you'll be able to experience those realms a lot better than you would with any of the tools that's out there for NASA and other places like that.
For all of you out there who have never heard the term psychonaut, so an astronaut is an explorer of space. A psychonaut is an explorer of the mind. And whenever I think of psychonaut, of course, I think of Terrence McKenna.
Yeah, I mean, he's the king of all psychonauts, right? Like, you can't...
What a legend.
You can't talk about psychedelics without naming him, He's definitely one of the pioneers. He brought a lot of the ideas here. And then, obviously Joe Rogan helped with that as well. And
yeah, Joe Rogan was a huge deal.
He started to bring the same ideas, but in the newer age.
Right,
after
right.
him.
You're right, absolutely. But let's get back on track here.
Mm-hmm. So disconnecting and connecting.
Disconnecting and connecting,
right.
And the whole... So this is fun. This is why I love doing the podcast, because I intended on this conversation going a certain way, but, that's what podcasting's all about.
Perfect. No, it's perfect.
This went in a slightly different direction than I intended, but we're still staying on the subject, because the more I talk about it with you right now in just this conversation, the more I realize the idea of disconnecting and getting away from it all is in the eye of the beholder.
Totally.
It is subjective.
Right.
Some people like going on a trail in Rocky Mountain National Park. Mm-hmm. Some people like going in Microsoft Excel and crunching numbers.
Yeah, they love numbers.
That's their idea of disconnecting and getting away from
coding.
It all. Right. Right. So
or gaming.
Right. And like what I may think about disconnecting and getting away from it all, like for instance, Nicole and I are doing this big trip. I'm trying to disconnect, even though at the same time I'm more connected than ever. I think now because I'm trying to make an online presence.
Right. That's so true. It's ironic.
Isn't that very ironic?
Right. You're still connected with and it's cool because the internet is a place where all of our minds can meet, and it's just it's something that we shouldn't take for granted. It's a beautiful thing, and people who take it for granted almost feel bad for them, because the ability to share and connect with other people, I think, is beautiful. It makes us, more connected to each other.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But the good part of it is, I used to say this to my parents when they were still, unsure about the whole Facebook and instant messaging thing. I was trying to explain to my mom that like the good side of something like Facebook. I randomly made this friend in Egypt. He saw one of my posts, liked what I said, added me as a friend. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? So I accepted his friend. Turns out he's from Egypt.
Wow.
I don't know in real life, but I have an online friend who's from Egypt.
That's crazy.
That I can go in the palm of my hand and instantly message him whenever I want.
Instantly.
Instantly.
And he's like, boom, oh, I got a notification. It's Jeff from Chicago or wherever.
Instantly.
We're in Chicago right now.
So it just blows my mind. It's like the more we progress in technology, the faster and faster and faster. Like Terrence McKenna said, the whole novelty thing. It's like the universe for us and our perception is like speeding up. It's like getting quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker.
Those guys, Terrence McKenna, Timothy Leary, they very much embrace technology. They're big into technology. They embraced it open arms. They knew that this was going to be a way for, in the end, for people to be able to take their psychedelic experiences and record and share them, and eventually being able to play them from another person's perspective. Like someone be able to see the exact thing that person saw in their mind.
Wow.
So I think that's the end goal of it, is to be able to record that.
Can you imagine if we could like... So there's an episode of Futurama where they insert themselves into the internet. It's a virtual... You're literally in the internet and everything, all this shit's just flying by
Spam,
you. Ads are literally hitting you in the face. Like, what if you were able to insert yourself in like the thoughts or the mind of someone like Terrence McKenna? If you can connect...
That'd be crazy.
That way.
Right. Oh, yeah, I definitely think we're going to have like the Spock effect, but it'll be like you'd be like allow the person to see it. So you send like a picture now, like on Messenger, bloop.
Right.
I'll be in my head. I'll be like, "Hey Jeff, I want to show you my experience that I just had."
And then
or like I just went on a trip, and you could just be like, boom, and instantly like feel exactly everything that I felt.
My Neuralink will just be like message from Will, but it won't be like that.
Right. You can say yes or no.
Think it.
Yeah, you'll like feel or hear it in some way in your mind that this is incoming message. You don't have to be connected to it. You can disconnect it from your phone. You can turn off Bluetooth, whatever.
Do you think that it's a bad thing that humans are getting farther and farther away from nature?
I think that, okay, I mean, we've had this talk before, but this is definitely about connecting and disconnecting. But
right.
The reason why we connect is because we want to understand. And understanding is going to help us in our future. And what we've learned to understand is that the sun is constantly getting bigger. And it's not going to stop getting bigger.
So I see where you're going with this.
We have to connect so that we can get out of here. And even if it's like a long period of time from now, it's so long from now, like humans could destroy Earth way before that happens. Right?
Or a comet can come and blow us up.
Totally.
Right.
But we almost should take responsibility and try to technologically advance and then leave the planet. Maybe make it a habitable place for the rest of the Earth since we don't need it anymore.
Don't just give it the old Wall-E.
Right. And just like we can leave it. It could be a sanctuary.
Almost like a national park.
The whole
thing. A preservation.
Exactly.
The Earth preservation zone.
Exactly. Because it's the only place we know that this happens right now.
Right.
Right now. I mean, obviously they say 1 in every 5 stars is a host of life.
Right, because you have to think about our sun. We have personalized. We put so much emotional stock into our star. We call it the sun.
And there's lots of UFO stuff coming out right now, and the government talking about disclosure.
It's a whole other conversation.
All right, we're not going to get into that, but that's also connecting and disconnecting, because if we connect, maybe we can find other advanced civilizations and then connect with them. And then we can create, bigger and bigger ways for life to be able to plant its seed, because for all I know, I feel that life is beautiful and that it's something magical. Yeah, I don't see anything beautiful about dead life, but who knows like what's happening in different dimensions and realms. So I can't talk about whether or not inanimate objects are alive, because who knows how the scale of life works.
What if through the advancement of technology, like I just mentioned, we can put ourselves in the mind of someone like Terrence McKenna? What if we can put ourselves in the mind of a tree?
That's cool, yeah.
Or like a flower.
And understand its whole life.
These things are alive.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
There are scientific studies out there how they react to electricity, electromagnetism, and I mean, of course, plants are alive, and so by default, do they feel?
So there's a
we know they communicate through massive networks of roots and fungi.
There was a TED talk that I saw recently, where a guy took a Venus flytrap and he hooked it up to an electrocardiogram.
Whoa.
And you know how like when
This
you
is on TED,
on TED, and you know when you tickle the hairs, how it does that?
right?
He saw that when you do that, the electrocardiogram goes boop.
Yeah, right. So there is
That's
voltage.
communication, and not only that, he found out that they actually do math and count, because it takes a specific time. Like you can hit it once, doesn't go off. If you do it again within a certain time period, within 20 seconds, it knows that that's a fly in there. And it does that because it uses so much energy to do that trapping. It wants to make sure there's a
Right.
fly in there. So it counts. It makes sure.
Right. It makes sure the thing needs to get flicked like 3 times or something like that.
No, it's the amount of flicked in a certain amount of time within a time period.
Oh, I see what you're
and
saying.
so the actual Venus flytrap is also counting and doing math in its head. So that's an interesting thing. So,
And-
you know, plants are definitely alive, you know. We come from plants, I feel. Like, deep down, there's somewhere that somehow, like, we are all evolved from spores and plants and
I
things of
also
that
I also
nature.
want to make it clear to people who happen to be listening to this, when a lot of people, when you hear the term uh, um, disconnect from society and go reconnect with nature, you automatically think of get away from the city and go out in the woods. Because nature is like these plants that are around us right now. It's like I can go look at a leaf, I can eat a leaf, I can see a leaf, I can smell a leaf. That's a plant. I'm in nature, right? But what I mean, I think of nature as not
Nature.
just plants and stuff like that on planet Earth, but literally, you know, it's the more and more we progress in our astrophysics, the more and more electric universe theory is coming out. You know, we're finding more and more evidence that indicates that the world, the universe, that as we know it, its fundamental force is not gravity; it's electricity.
Yes, right.
I urge everyone to go look into the electric universe theory. There's a really good YouTube channel called the Thunderbolts Project. Amazing stuff, really good science. But getting back to my rant, what if, you know, nature is the very thing that created this planet? It's not just plants on the planet, it's our solar system, it's the galaxy, it's the cluster of galaxies, and it's that electromagnetic force, it's that electricity that connects everything. You know, when you zoom out on a cluster of galaxies, it looks like neurons in your brain.
Right.
So I mean, connecting with nature, you know, maybe that's just ripping a bowl of DMT
Right. You're just like, boom.
and boom, hyperspace into, is it the quantum realm?
or just
I don't know.
feeling all of nature at one time.
Like nature, yeah, in the sense of not necessarily going out in the woods, like just tapping into that energy that's all around us, like meditation, perhaps.
What if we're never disconnected? What if we're always connected because we are nature? We really just are nature. Like humans, like we're not anything separate from nature.
We need oxygen, we need water,
Right. So there's no difference.
we need food.
You know, we're carrying out nature's process because nature created us. So and if we did come from this planet, it intended on being us being on this planet and doing this to this planet if we came from this planet, right? There's a lot of people who would argue that, you know, we come from like spores in space and then
Come from Mars.
or we seeded this planet in some
whatever.
way from like and
Genetically modified by
but
aliens.
look at those like those little tiny like bear things. They call them like these little space bears where they can like survive like out in space.
Oh, those little, yeah, I know what you're talking, under a microscope,
Right.
they almost look like a bear.
Right.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
they're like a little like worm thing. Anyways, I don't know the name of it. I'm sure many of you guys have seen it.
I've
It's
seen
went
it.
viral. But those things can live in the vacuum of space.
They're living organisms
So
in the
that
vacuum
means
of
if they get
space.
shot from one place, they could land in another planet and then eventually start creating life there. That means that there is something that can do that. So there's a very high potential that we did see this planet in some sort of like asteroid or like meteorite or something that hit this planet a long time ago.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
we're just at the 30-minute mark here,
Awesome.
so I think we did good.
Yeah, I think, you know, the moral of this podcast is that you need to disconnect. We're all connected 24/7, maybe like 18, just do it 18 hours.
What do you mean?
Maybe not 24 hours, just connect 18 hours.
Oh, right,
That's
right.
terrible. That'd be awful.
Right, no, yeah, at the beginning of this talk, I had intended on talking about, getting away from it all and going to take a vacation or something. But the more we talked about it, I guess disconnecting is in the eye of the beholder.
It totally is.
If you truly enjoy and love being connected all the time, like you do, you love constantly being connected. You love the progression of technology.
I just like advancement, and I
Right.
like
Your
I
idea,
like building things.
Your idea of disconnecting is way different than my idea of disconnecting.
I will say though, I mean, I'll have my day-to-days where I'm like, man, I can't wait for the weekends just so I can disconnect. So that is important. You gotta definitely take your time. Go out to nature. We've been definitely going, even when we're in the city, there's still nature in Chicago. We go out to Montrose Beach because of COVID. There's no one on Montrose Beach. We can enjoy the beach to ourselves. Like, things like that. You could still go and find nature in anywhere. I mean, your cities, there's places.
And a great way to connect with nature is grow your own plants.
Grow your own plants. That's a huge one. Like,
whether it be just for decoration, if you want to get into growing marijuana, if you want to grow your own food. I mean, there's so many things you can do to reconnect with nature.
Definitely.
You don't have to go in the woods to connect with nature.
Definitely. I think growing plants creates a sense of patience that, you don't get from connecting to technology. You're always wanting to figure out how I make the most of my time. Well, with nature, you literally have to sit there and wait sometimes and not do anything, because if you do too much, it's gonna be like, Jesus, get back off, come on, let me chill. You're overwatering me.
Nature is the ultimate patience master.
It is, and it teaches great zen. So I definitely think people should take up gardening, like in your home, whatever. You can garden a little basil plant. Start there.
Disconnect from social media just a little bit. Reconnect with nature by growing your own plants.
I wanna,
That's what I say.
I want to end it out though with this thought, and especially during times like this, it is important to connect, especially when you have things. And I want to mention this: things like civil unrest. You definitely need to listen to people. You need to be able to understand the situation and connect during times like this, and not run away. Do not hit when fight or flight hits. Don't run away.
Don't hide your head in the sand.
Gotta be open to listen. There's a lot of people out here in this world. We're all here on this planet together. Listen to people. They're screaming for a reason. That's all I want to say.
All right, I like that ending. And thank you for listening to The Void Fill with me and Will.
Thank you.
Thank you.